This video is for Christians, some Christian groups that were convinced and taught that you are not allowed to have graven images, that anything, no graven images at all, including a crucifix or a cross, nothing, because it's a sin. You're taught this by other preachers, other theologians and pastors or whatever else. And this is a misunderstanding. It's a false teaching. And I wanted to do this video to help you be free from maybe some burdens, some lies, some false teachings that have been put on you, and they become burdens because if God never put a restriction on something and someone does, a man or a woman or anybody that says they represent God does, then this should be lifted off you. You shouldn't have it on you. Now, God has restrictions and things that He has put on us that tells us this, you cannot do this and you cannot do that, and it makes it really clear. Those things we need to obey. But then there's some people that sometimes are in their passion, in their zealousness, they read a passage, usually it's one-liners, and they come up with this conclusion, and they start teaching it in their churches or in wherever, and then it spreads and spreads and spreads this lie. Now, I will show you biblically how this is not true at all. God is not against you having graven images that represent anything to do with Him, especially a cross that represents what the love, the greatest love that Jesus laid down His life. Only Satan wouldn't want you to have a cross around. But I need to tell you this, and this usually happens because they'll take the one-liner, and God says not to do that. He says in the Bible, it's line upon line, precept upon precept. In other words, when we're studying the Bible, we look at everywhere where the Bible talks about that specific topic to come up with the conclusion. And I'll show you how biblically this is not the case at all. God is not against graven images. God is against you bowing down to graven images. That's what is clearly in the Bible, shows us over and over that that's what He's against. And I'll show you now. Where this comes from is Exodus. Usually where this verse came about, I guess, is from the preachers when they read these verses. So Exodus chapter 20 verse 1. I'll start from verse 1. And this is where God gives the 10 commandments for the first time to Moses. And God spoke all these words saying, I am the Lord your God, which has brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me, and except for me, He's saying. You shall not make unto you any graven image, or anything like anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. So nothing in heaven, so no angels or anything like that. Heaven was also, in the Old English, we'll talk about space, so no sun, no moon, no stars, nothing like that, or planets. Nothing in the sky. That's also a way that they used to say heaven was also representing anything above the earth. So again, no birds, anything that's flying in the air. And then nothing on the earth. So this nothing. So that means no trees even, not just no animals, but no trees, no humans. You can't have any graven images of these kind of things. Plus nothing under the sea. So nothing in the water. So no fish, nothing, right? So no graven images of any of those things. Very clear. But it continues. It says, you shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them, for I am the Lord your God, and I'm a jealous God. And it's a pure jealousy. He's talking about not the oppressive, controlling jealousy that some husbands can have with their wives, or wives can put on their husbands. So notice what he says there. And what I want you to know is there was no numbers, chapters, or verse numbers, or anything like that when this was first put down. The Bible had none of that stuff. Now I'm glad that they do have that, the numbers and verses and stuff, because it's easy to find things and easy to say, I go to Exodus chapter 5 verse 3. It's easy to get people to look up things. Otherwise you'd be looking for ages trying to find where that is. So I'm not against it, but just know that it was a continuation. And I'll show you how it was a continuation, because God continues explaining Himself, because now He's starting to give His ways to His people, and He's telling them, listen. Later He also gives them food laws, health laws, like don't eat these kind of things, because it'll. And the reality is, when they investigate it now these days, actually these things that He told them not to eat are very harmful to our bodies, to our health. Even fabrics, He tells them not to use specific fabrics, to not combine them together, because one frequency, fabrics has frequency. They found now they've done studies, and different fabrics release different frequencies, and some fabrics are really hurting us. like nylon, things like that. And linen is very wonderful fabric. And anyway, that's another video, and I'm going to do it in the future. But it's amazing what God gave because he loves his people, and he was trying to help them in every way and explain things in every way. But we see him again repeating himself in Leviticus. Look at this. Again, same guy, Moses, writes Leviticus, and he says this to them, right? You shall make, this is God speaking, you shall make you no idols, he repeats himself, or nor graven image, neither rear you up a standing image, lift up a standing image, neither shall you set up any image of stone in your land to bow down unto it, for I am the Lord your God. So God is speaking, saying, I'm the Lord your God, and he's saying, don't do any images, graven images at all. Why? To bow down to them. So we see that his problem was to bow down to them. That's what his problem is. Not that you shouldn't have any graven images. You shouldn't have, some go as far, you shouldn't even have a painting. Mate, lift off these burdens. It's a lie. It's just the passion, zeal of humans that represent God many times and put on people burdens, like I said in the beginning, that God never put on you guys. So be free from them. So I'll show you and prove to you how this is not, well, God didn't mean don't make any images at all, because God is not a hypocrite. How do we know this? God, in the same book, Exodus, starts telling, I think it's in Exodus, he starts telling Moses also to create this tabernacle, and then he tells him how this tabernacle, basically a modern day what we would say is a church or a temple or whatever. So he's telling him to do this thing, and he's telling him what he wants in there, what to do, these pots and all this kind of stuff. And then he says, I want you also to make an ark, a box, and the 10 commandments will be put inside of them. And then on top, you're going to make a mercy seat, because I'm going to sit on that throne. I'm going to meet with the high priest, the one high priest, to do with the mercy, because it's a mercy seat. And I'm going to give mercy when you bring this, the sins before me for me to forgive them and all that kind of stuff. But on top of the mercy seat, on each side, he says to Moses, you're going to make images of 2 angels, cherub angels. And their wings are going to point, and he's talking to them how these wings, their wings are going to point. Their faces, he says, they're going to have faces, and they're going to look face towards the mercy seat. So he's saying they're going to have faces. He's literally creating something that belongs in heaven, angels. So if God was against creating or forming graven images of heaven, of earth, or anything else that belongs in these things, in heaven, in earth, in the space, or anything, then God is a hypocrite. But what God was against was not creating graven images. It was to bow down to them. Then someone said to me, "Oh, that was just for the one high priest that was going to look at that. That's not a big deal." Well, God is not a perverted, twisted, corrupt God where he bends the rules sometimes. No, he submits to his own word, to his own rules. He's faithful to it. So that's already, that excuse, throw it out of the window. Secondly, I'll show you that it wasn't just for one person to do with graven images. Later, again, when Moses is leading God's people, they're in the wilderness, and at one stage they're getting attacked because they were being so against God many times. They'll be so terrible at the way they were with God at times, and Moses and that. Anyway, at one stage they're getting attacked by snakes, venomous snakes. And they're pleading to Moses, do something, pray to God. And Moses goes to God, and God says to him, okay, get a stick and a big pole, and then I want you to create a graven image of a snake. Well, that's a graven image again of something on earth. So if God's against graven images, again, he's been a hypocrite, but he's not against graven images. And then that says what to him? After Moses makes the serpent from brass, he makes it, puts it on the pole. He says to him, every time the Israelites look at this brazen image of a serpent, they will be healed from the venom, and they will not die anymore from being bitten by the snakes. Notice, they're going to look at the graven image, don't bow down to it, just look at it, and they will be, there's more to it. Again, I'm going to make another video about what that represented, but look at that. Again, he tells him to make a graven image, and all these, we think it's roughly around 2 million people that Moses led out of Egypt. And they're looking at this, and they're being protected or healed from the venom. So God is not against graven images, guys, especially the cross. But God is against bowing down or serving them as gods. Okay? Thank you.